For this first exercise of the chapter, we're going to take a program we've written previously, the calc program, and especially the calc method that we wrote, and rewrite the method body using a switch statement. So you're looking at the calc method now. So let's comment out just the if-else-if part of this, and then let's write it as a switch. So we're going to switch on the operator, and then we're going to say case it's a plus sign, and we're going to say result is equal to operand 1 plus operand 2. And then a break. And then case minus sign, result equals operand 1 minus operand 2, and a break. And then case multiplication, result equals operand 1 times operand 2, and then a break. And then case division, result equals operand 1 divided by operand 2, break. And then default, if we want a default, we could say console write, let's do right line, bad operator, break, and then close the switch. Leave our result like it is. Let's go back and look at our code. Everything looks right, so let's run the program. So we'll try 22, 12 plus is 34, yes. 12.2, 2.2 minus, that's right. We'll do a multiplication. 100 times 100 is 10,000. And then we'll do one more. 2.2.34 divide, and we'll say no, and that stops the program. So there's a very simple example of how you can rewrite an if-else-if using a switch statement. It's a little bit less code, it's a little bit cleaner to look at, but there really is absolutely no difference between these two, and I'd say it's a matter of preference which one you prefer. You will see switch used in situations like this quite a bit rather than if-else-if, but it's really kind of up to you as to which one you use. Now let's go to the next exercise where we're going to look at how we can rewrite a while loop with a do while loop. In this lesson, we're going to take an existing while loop and rewrite it as a do while. Here's a guessing game program that plays a game where you guess a number between 1 and 10. Let's run this program and see how it works. So we simply guess a number, then it asks us if we want to guess again. We just keep guessing until we get it right. That time it was 5. So we can very simply rewrite this as a do while loop. So let's comment out the while loop. We can start at this point right here. So we'll say do, guess a number between 1 and 10. Then we convert the guess to an integer. Then we see if the guess is correct, and I've got to fix 2int32 there. So we're going to write out to the console. Oh, there, it fixed itself. That's right. And then we're going to break out of the loop early since we've got it correct. Otherwise, we're going to say sorry, want to try again, or guess again. And then continue equals console read line, while continue is equal to yes. So we'll guess a couple of numbers. 1, yes, we want to try again. 2, yes, we want to try again. 3, yes, we want to try again. 4, yes, we want to try again. 5, yes, we want to try again. 6, yes, we want to try again. 7, yes. 8, yes. 9, and that's it. So let's run it one more time. And if we say no, then the program just stops. We probably would want some sort of better response there at the bottom, something like, thanks for playing. But you get the idea. The key thing is that we can very simply rewrite a while loop in a do while without losing any of the meaning of the program. Now, again, most of the time the while loop works just fine, but if for some reason you just want the test at the bottom, then you should choose to pick the do while loop over the while loop. So that wraps up this exercise. Now we're going to move to the last exercise for the chapter, where we look at some examples of using the for each loop. In this exercise, we're going to get behind the scenes to see how the for each loop is actually implemented in the underlying code that the compiler creates. So the first thing we're going to do is create a list object. We'll just make it a very simple list of numbers, 1 through 10. So there's our 10 numbers in a list. Then to demonstrate the for each loop, we'll loop through it. So for each int num in numbers, console.write num plus a space. Let's run the program. And there's our list. So let's look and see how C# does it internally. First thing, let's put a blank line. The first thing the compiler does is create something called an enumerable object. And an enumerable object is an object that can be enumerated or broken up into pieces and detailed. That's one way to think of that. So the first thing we do is create a enumerable object nums and assign it the list that we just created. Then we have to create an enumerator object, which we're just going to call an enumerator. And the way we do that is by calling the getEnumerator method from our enumerable object. The enumerator is the item that can move from one item to the next in a collection and knows when to stop. At that point, all we have to do is simply write a simple loop. So we'll use a while loop with our enumerator object and a method called moveNext. MoveNext looks to see if there's an item to move to in the list, and it returns true or false. If there's another item to move to, it returns true. So you can think of it as we first go into the loop as a pointer sitting right before the first item. We call moveNext and it looks to see if there's an item there. There is, so it returns true, and we go into the body of the loop. In the body of the loop, we call a property called current, which will return the current object. So moveNext moves to the first item. Now it's current. We go back through the loop. MoveNext looks to see if there's another item. There is. It moves there, and we return the next item. Then when it gets to 10, after we've displayed 10, MoveNext looks to see if there's another item. There's not. It returns false, and we break out of the loop. So let's run the program. Very good. We can use the same code on an array. So what we could do right here is create an array real quick. Let's very quickly put numbers into it. We need to start at 0 right here and run less than 10, and then set each indexed item to I plus 1, like so. Now let's comment out this line. We'll rewrite it like so, and then right here we'll comment out this line, call it onNumers, which is our enumerator for numerals, and run the program. And we still get 1 through 10. So enumeration works on any collection of objects or data. So we can do it on lists of all types and arrays. But anyway, that's how the for each loop works in the background, by creating an enumerator and then having that enumerator object iterate through the collection, going from one item to the next using the moveNext method. So that wraps up this chapter on alternative control flow structures. And now we're ready to move to the next chapter, where we're going to discuss reading and writing to text files.